Hello, and welcome to the newest segment of ELLÁ. I'm Dr. Haydeé Brown, mom, orthopedic surgeon, nonprofit founder, and overall disruptor. And this is
eh-yah. I'm Dr. Sonya Sloan, and I am also an orthopedic surgeon and mom, serial entrepreneur, first lady of a church, and best-selling author of The Rules of Medicine. And today we're going to kick it off.
Yeah, so let's just jump into it. ELLÁ, right? We said it in our intro. We're moms, we're orthopedic surgeons. We wear several hats. And like many women, in order to fulfill our potential, our obligations, we need childcare. The current presidential campaigns couldn't have a more starkly different approach to affordable childcare. Let's just see the GOP candidates' policy speech on this topic. Let's show the clip.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking.
So, what is he even talking about here, right? Just some plain facts. Per the Center of American Progress, as of January 2023, about 77% of prime age women are participating in the U.S. labor force. And having children actually lowers women's unemployment rate. And despite that, women are 5 to 8 times more likely than men to have their employment impacted by their caregiver responsibilities. So this policy speech is incredibly important to half of the population of the United States. But what is he talking about, from Marco Rubio to Ivanka, then taxing foreign nations? I mean, what do you make of this, Dr. Sloan?
He was all over the place. Like, he never answered the question. He never really discussed it. I mean, the forum where he was at, he had to talk economics, right? But specifically a chance to really elaborate on women and healthcare and childcare specifically. I'm a mom literally through my training as well as working, trying to find people that you can trust as well as affordable was hard even for me, making a good salary. And so therefore, what does that mean for other, moms that are single moms, that are moms that don't make 6 figures, the, childcare that you can trust, as well as, all these other things that go into it. And we're not even going to talk about maternity leave and some other things that they didn't get into, but he never answers the question. And so it lends again to the fact that he's not in tune with the average American, as well as give us a solid answer, something we can hold on to. That's not forthcoming ever. And it goes back to a reference to Rubio and his daughter, the fact that what he's doing and the monies that are coming in and economic growth, and he making it trying to be relevant. But these are two different things, and that America needs to be productive. You need to have a workforce that can do that. And for us to do that and be moms means you need to be able to afford it. So we're back to the drawing board on this, Dr. Brown. Back to the drawing board. This is just, once again.
So, thinking about this childcare, let's just contrast this with another topic, right? The Harris Walls campaign recently spoke about small business owners and entrepreneurs, and
I mean, I love this. If we can go to the clip and play that, it was phenomenal.
Now, I'm setting what some, I'm sure, are going to call a very ambitious goal, but you know what? I think we should admire ambition in each other. So I want to see 25 million new small business applications by the end of my first term. And to help achieve this, we will lower the cost of starting a new business. So here's the thing. On average, it costs about $40,000 to start a new business in America. That is a great financial barrier for a lot of folks, and it can hold entrepreneurs back. And the current tax deduction for a startup is just $5,000, okay? So then you gotta make up the delta there. Gotta figure out how you're gonna do that. Not everyone has access to that kind of wealth and capital. So part of my plan is we will expand the tax deduction for startups to $50,000. It's essentially a tax cut for starting a small business.
And that is the way you do it. You know, going forward, economic opportunity, the growth for America and the middle class is entrepreneurship. And we all know this. I mean, we're at a pivotal place in history where entrepreneurs are forthcoming, but we also know we're stifled because, as a serial entrepreneur myself, those numbers of the 50,000 to be able to get that kind of money to raise that and have a tax cut and all these other things will level the playing field a little bit. It's a starting point, though, that I think is so critical. Also, to jumpstart our economy in the United States on a different level. We have so many people that would love to be able to work for themselves and provide for their families and create a legacy of business and business owners, and even for their families. You know, this could be ongoing. And so I think this is really a fantastic initiative to change the dollars that are going in and out, creating new tax breaks for entrepreneurs, and really energizing America to, you know, think big, think outside the box, provide things that we need. And who knows, this may even go back to moms that need caregiving, that could start their own businesses, that could help with some other things. You just don't know where this is going to go. But I think it's pivotal that, you know, Harris and Walz's campaign is putting out for entrepreneurs and small business owners. This is the only way we're going to continue moving ahead, not corporate America, big dollars.
You know, absolutely. And thinking of this as eh-yah, right? We women are entrepreneurs. There's this Amex study that showed that women start businesses at twice the rate of the overall population. And of course, guess what subgroup has the fastest growing, you know, population in terms of entrepreneurs? It's Black female entrepreneurs. Black female entrepreneurs are starting companies at over 4 times the popular population rate. And so, again, this contrast between the Harris-Walz campaign really feeding into the engine of what makes America great and what makes us a burgeoning economy and what enables us all to grow, versus a meandering conversation about childcare. So, I mean, where does the GOP even stand on encouraging small businesses? You know, let's just throw to that clip.
Because you're all people that have a lot of money. I know 20 of you, and you're rich as hell. We're going to give you tax cuts. We're going to pay off our debt. We're going to do all of the things that we have.
Again, for them, not for the average American, not for the middle class, not for the working Joe and Jill. You know, we're not providing resources and a way forward for economic growth for all of us, you know. And so him bragging and talking to his, you know, constituents is par for the course for this. But I think with the change with the Harris-Walz campaign will really lend to, you know, America for all of us, that we can all try to get ahead, because we're all hard workers and we want to do that. But the doors and the gates and the glass ceilings that exist right now need some parameters to be able to somewhat level the playing field so everyone can at least get a start. You know, and I think that has come into play during this campaign, because a lot of us Black women are starting to show up, because we're saying there has to be a change, not just because Vice President Harris is a woman or Black, is because there has to be a change, and we're behind some of the policies, the initiatives, and the change that is happening. Let's go to the clip about voters registration.
We're tracking something really interesting going on right now. It's a surge in voter registration in key groups ahead of the November election. Among young Black women, registration is up more than 175%. You heard that right. More than 175% in 13 states. That's compared to the same time in 2020. This, according to the data firm TargetSmart. Registration has also increased among young Latinas and Black Americans.
It's incredibly unusual to see changes in voter registration that are anywhere close to this. I mean, to remind people, 175% is almost tripling of registration rates among this specific group. You just don't see that sort of thing happen in elections normally.
And then, I mean, this is amazing, right? Let's show them the numbers. And so, all of the polls and everything else with her now catching up, as well as the margins, but the voter registration, the fact that you have more women now wanting to make sure they're voting, Latino as well as African American, that is going to be the game changer, especially in key states, to swing this election and make sure that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are in office to make changes that are going to be lasting for generations to come. What do you think, Dr. Brown?
I just think, again, the Harris-Walz campaign is the future. It's what America looks like now and what America will grow to be. Those numbers, right? Women overall increased almost 84%. And then it's the young Black and young Latina voters that also went up. And folks are picking up on this difference in policy and picking up on their voice being listened to by the Harris-Walz campaign. And this is where things are going, right? This is that voter surge is what the GOP is actually trying to block, right? By restricting voting, by restricting mail-in voting, and all these other techniques to try to suppress voter turnout. But hopefully the number of the new registrants will overpower any of the efforts to disenfranchise these new voters.
I think this is key. I think it's really key. I myself, living in Texas, I went to the website. I've been part of the Voter Participation Center, which is Rock the Vote. And I actually went on my Harris County, check it out to see if you're registered to vote. I could not find it under my driver's license. I could not find it under my date of birth. And then finally, on the third try, I found it under my voter's registration card number. And then only to find out my polling location for the date of the election was 35 minutes away, not my typical polling site. So I was blown away by this. And so I would encourage people to make sure they're registered to vote, but also look at all the fine details. I've been informed that that's going to change the closer we get to the date, but it doesn't matter. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you go out and vote early. We need these numbers to change in the polling. And more than anything else, the impact of being informed. There's so much out there, information. And so places like MeidasTouch Network, as well as listening to eh-yah, as well as just find yourself a place where you can gather information, be informed, but understand this. You have to vote in this election. It's pivotal to make sure that we do not have someone that is going to be a dictator and change our life and our kids' lives. Dr. Brown?
Absolutely. And what you just said is so scary, right? Really, the call to action after any recording is go on that website, go on your state website, go on your city website, make sure that you are registered to vote, if not register, and then look at your polling locations and see what restrictions may be there. Because imagine if you're a young woman working, just dropped your kid off at childcare, you thought you're supposed to vote at one place, you find out the day of election day that that's not your state, the place for you to vote, you may not vote that day, right? That is another step that you may not be able to do. So it's so key and so important for everyone to register to vote, know where you're voting, and then make sure you have your voting plan for that day of the election. So we are super excited to keep with these discussions. And
especially the upcoming first debate, in 4 days, a couple of days, we're going to really hear and see. And now mics may be muted, but I think the antics and the facial expressions and the frustration that may come from 45 are going to show a lot. So get ready, get your popcorn ready, because it is going to be a show.
And we'll see you all on the next eh-yah.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.